Okay, beautiful. Okay, so welcome to those of you who are here, and welcome to anybody who is going to be watching the replay. I'm really excited to be with you, and I'm really excited to share some information and have this sort of type of dialogue happening here where we can ponder some of the bigger things and look at how we can do some practical things that help us in these very stressful times. And of course, we're going to do some meditation today that is specifically targeted at helping us to deal with our subconscious mind in a different way. And these are not teachings that, typically we learn about in other areas of Western culture. So I think it's really important that we have this information about how the mind operates and how it can be a friend or a foe, depending on how we relate to it. And so I really think that these teachings are really very, very valuable right now. And they kind of go outside of what is typically talked about or taught in these times. And so I think they're pretty special for that reason. So that's part of my mission, is to, share these teachings and raise this awareness of how we interact with this whole psyche of ours. Because again, these are difficult times, as I'm sure you know, and we have to have the tools and the awareness of how we can actually take care of ourselves in a way that is a little deeper, perhaps, than we've been taught before. So if you don't already know me, my name is Andrea Skitch, and I'm a psychotherapist, and I'm also a kundalini yoga teacher. And I've been doing these Friday morning classes for, I guess, over 6 months now. And it's been such a joy. I'm so happy to show up and teach these classes and interact with you and spend time with you. So thank you again for being here and for your interest. So I want to talk today a little bit about the mind, and a little bit about how that relates to us being in the technological age. So, as you know, we are in a different timeline now, where obviously technology is king, right? We rely on technology. We use technology. Everybody has technology. I was going to show you my phone, but it's attached here. And that's great. And it's very wonderful, because it has given us a lot of solutions and a lot of tools that we wouldn't have otherwise had in previous times. And it hasn't been that long, right? I mean, the internet was developed, 50 years ago or something, and we didn't start using it till like 30 years ago. So, this is all very new. And with it comes a shift in how we as humanity are actually navigating life. And in many ways, in a beneficial way, right? Like we have more, we just have more tools, like I said, at our fingertips. You need to know something, you can look it up. You need help on where to go, you look it up. We're very connected, and it's really fantastic. Of course, to anything on this planet, there's going to be a light side and a dark side, I guess you could say. And the dark side of technology is that it's not what some people might say. It's the information overload, which is partly true, right? Because we can be highly distracted by the frequency of all this information that's coming into us in a way that's difficult for us to handle, because we haven't kind of adapted or like evolved to be able to handle that kind of information overload. So that is an issue, and that would be a valid point. But maybe taking that one step further, it's actually it's the trap of falling into the technology, sort of having that hypnotic grasp on our psyche, rather than the other way around. So in other words, we want to find a way to use technology and not have it use us, right? I was listening to a little clip I came across on social media of Prince, actually, the artist Prince, just saying the very same thing back in, I don't know, 80s or 90s. And he was saying, the computer is amazing, but don't let it I can't remember how he said it, but like, don't let it, don't let it control you. And I think that's a really interesting thing to think about right now, especially when we're all still somewhat isolated because of the pandemic. We are relying heavily on technology to give us information about what's happening in the world. And it is creating our reality, right? It's creating the perspective from which we look through. And we don't really often question that, right? We assume that because it's knowledge and because we have access to it, and we find comfort in the belief that everything that we're receiving in terms of information is true, is accurate, and is reality. And I know there's no easy way forward, but there is also benefit in questioning that, right? And in questioning sort of, is this technology pulling me into a hypnotic trance or a frequency or a perspective that suits me? That's the question we need to ask. And because you have your own guiding system, and here's the sort of second point of today's talk, which is our own mind-body system is a computer. You could put it that way. It's highly sophisticated. It will never be, or rather, it will always be more sophisticated than technology. But we don't think about it that way, right? We think that, well, if we don't have the knowledge, or we don't have the sort of, all the computing ability that a computer has, or the database, then, we must not be as intelligent as this device. But nobody's telling us that actually it's the opposite. It's the mind-body system that has all of these layers to it of information gathering and processing, including the mind, which is an extremely powerful computer. We are never less powerful than technology. And why is that important to remember? Well, because you get to discern what is valuable to you and what resonates with you. Truth has a resonance, right? It's one of those things. Have you ever had a moment where you think or say like, I don't know why, but I just know that that's true, or that's true for me, right? It's because there's a resonance to truth that resonates with your being, and your being is constantly picking up multiple layers of information beyond what your mind actually really understands or can articulate. So, this is a really important point that my teacher has brought forward, which is that we need to appreciate technology, use technology, but not let it use us, not let it put us into a frequency of, control, for example. And I'm not saying this from a place of fear, like, some people are afraid of, AI and sort of like how it's going to take over the world. And of course, there's movies about that topic. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about a frequent, some kind of dystopia where we need to like be afraid of the robots. I'm talking about just that relationship with technology and how we uphold the perspective of our own divinity and our own power when we're using technology, rather than just sort of the hypnotic, automatic, robot, where we become the robot situation, right? And what does that have to do with mental health? Because that's primarily, what I talk about. And so the way I want to connect that is that we are in a time where we're moving from this perspective of power and dominance and control to a place of creativity and service. But that's a difficult shift to make for any civilization, I can only imagine. So, but what's happening is that we have been confused for a long time about the difference between power and control and true service and elevation. Like, we want to elevate the people around us, right? And sometimes it's obvious, right? We can think of, when we think about Hitler and the war. And like, we can think about how, at least from this perspective, how obviously power and control was the dominant frequency of that event. But then you can stop and think, well, yeah, but not everybody saw that, right? So, and I'm sure there are many examples of this throughout history, where we are confused about how to discern what is control and what is service. In other words, what is fear and what is flow? Flow meaning like creativity, connection, and freedom, right? So another example I can think of is, well, let's say what's happened here in Canada and how the Europeans came in and have treated the Indigenous folks of this land, right? It's like from the belief at the time, and for some people still is, that it's in service to try to control other people and augment them, right? To pull them into this higher way of being. But we couldn't discern the difference between really that coming from a place of fear and control versus true service, true unity consciousness, true creativity about how we could coexist, right? So that's still happening a lot right now. And we are all, as a collective, confused still about this difference. And it's a problem, right? It's a real problem. And in order for us to move forward, we have to take personal responsibility around being able to make that discernment. And guess what is going to help you make that discernment? Your computer system, your sophisticated mind-body system that has wisdom and a, what's the word I'm looking for? Has like a radar, right? It has a meter. Let's call it a bullshit meter, right? In there. And it's our job to get more and more connected with that, because what is true for me might not be true for you. And that's okay. And what might be true for you might not be true for me. And that is okay. So how do we find the knowing that that is okay? Because if we're ever going to find a way to move and forward and be a little bit more, peaceful with each other on this planet, we're never going to be the same. And we're not supposed to be the same. So therefore, we have to find comfort in the discomfort of not being the same, right? And not trying to control other people or manipulate them into doing what you think is best. So, and if we are able to acknowledge that we have that capacity to have that discernment, and we have the capacity to find comfort in that discomfort, then that is how we are going to avoid the madness that is happening on this planet. And yes, I'm using that word on purpose. One of the yogic teachings is that during these dark times of transition, right, when we're moving to a different consciousness on the planet, which is going to take time and it's not over, that something like 80 to 90% of people on the planet are going to really have mental difficulty, like serious mental difficulty. And I don't know about you, but aren't you noticing that happening currently? Like, it's happening. And so I'm not saying that to frighten anybody, but I'm just saying it to put it in the context of being confused about a fundamental way of relating to humanity and those around you is madness. And being confused about why you're here on this planet, why you as an individual, you have your own mission. So if you're not at least aware of the fact that you have a mission, not to say you have to know in every moment exactly what it is, but losing sight of the fact that you are a unique soul on this planet for your own mission to contribute somehow, to serve, that's madness. Losing your way, thinking that it's about conforming, thinking that it's about, just following what other people believe you should be doing. That's madness. it's illusion, and it causes pain and suffering on a soul level. And the same amount of energy that it takes to navigate or be caught in the traumas and the subconscious patterns and the illusion and the distraction is the same amount, it's the same energy that takes to be fulfilling your, as the yogis say, your destiny or your mission. So you're not losing anything, right? It's just about redirecting yourself, which brings me to the last point, which is that we have to get better at understanding how the mind can be either our greatest ally, our computer, right? Or it can be our enemy, so to speak, or it can take us off track, because it is constantly operating and it constantly gives us these perspectives based on our traumas usually. And it therefore informs what track we're on, right? Or it pushes us in the direction of the illusion or confusion, which is 90% of the population on the planet right now. Or if you can find your what we call in therapy, like the adult brain, right? If you can find, or in yogic terms, they call it the neutral brain, a neutral mind. You could call it wise mind, you could call it your intuition, whatever you want to call it. If you can every day find a couple minutes just to connect to that part of you and remember that you have that navigational part in you, then that's one step toward overcoming the mind's perception of what is true and what is not true, that is rooted in things that don't actually serve you, like this difficulty in discerning control versus, or fear versus flow. And it's not easy, like I'm talking about this right now, but I'm not going to by any means try to claim that, I'm perfect at this. There's no way, right? Like constantly subconscious patterns are showing up. They're challenging me. They're challenging you. We're all in it, right? We're all in the muck together. But we have to consider that the mind is not always true, what it thinks or what it believes, and that we have this ability to have this adult higher brain, higher mind, neutral mind place to guide us, even when it's against the grain, or even if you don't know why, right? Because a lot of times, we know something is true, but we can't explain it. And that's okay. Because guess what? We don't have to. You're not here. You don't owe anything to anyone, period. You are here on a mission. If that means part of your mission is showing up and cooking food that you love, for yourself, because you have to serve yourself first. And then you share it with your grandchildren or your neighbor, that's service, right? Or if it's all the way to somebody who feels they need to be a CEO, like my teacher who died recently, Guru Jagat, she became a CEO of like 7 companies and like is spreading, has spread the word and created a legacy over the planet. Anywhere in between is perfect. Perfect. It's what you're here to do. It's what you can offer in that moment. Okay. So how do we overcome these subconscious patterns, and how do we start to navigate this mind-body system? Well, we're going to use some amazing mantras and meditations today. That's exactly what this technology is, period. That's what it is. This book that I just love is, it's called The Mind by Yogi Bhajan. And I don't know, I'm probably going to have to read this book once a year to just continue to upgrade my understanding of what he's saying, because it's so rich and it's so high level. But let me just share with you something from it that I'm sure we can all chew on a little bit. Okay, so he says, to win the game of life, you must have caliber. To have caliber, you must have an applied mind. An applied mind is a mind that processes everything positive and negative and then acts from a neutral mind to express you. The applied mind uses the neutral mind to assess all positive and negative, but does not react on that basis. It acts to cause a cause that leads to the fulfillment of you and your destiny and your highest identity. So I've been kind of explaining what he's saying, which is that, we have this ability to understand polarity, negative and positive, in all circumstances here. Fear, flow, negative, positive, and then act from a neutral place. Okay, so that's like kind of the main concept that I want to share with you today. It's not easy. It's not easy. So without further ado, let's do a little practice so we can start to just play around with this rewiring of the brain, which is all designed. It's designed to help us activate that higher mind and that neutral mind within each of us, and everybody has that. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I'm going to invite you to tune in with me if you'd like to. Sorry, I have a hair all over me for some reason. So we're going to just start by rubbing the palms together. So we tune in before every class, if you don't know this already, with a mantra that goes Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. And it essentially means I bow to the teacher within me, which is your higher self. And I also bow to the teachers that have come before me. So it's a really nice way to just kind of set the tone for what we're going to be doing. So by the way, if you're doing this, let's say you're at an office or you're at a park or you're somewhere where you don't really want to be chanting in front of people, you can always just, say it to yourself quietly. You can even chant it in your mind if that works better for you. It's really just to set the tone of the practice that you're about to do. But whenever you can chant it, I invite you to. And I invite you to specifically listen to your own sound. Listening to your own sound, whether it's your voice or your breath, is one of the most direct ways that you can access this neutral mind, and you can access your inner system. It's by actually getting more attuned to your own vibration, which happens every time you take a breath in and out, or every time you open your mouth and speak. So there's the first tip for today. Okay, so let's rub the palms together. Placing the palms at heart center, just close the eyes and take a few deep inhales and exhales on your own time. Just allow yourself to come even more into this moment. Letting go of anything that has happened before or will happen in the future. Roll the shoulders back and down and press the hands together. And let us inhale to tune in. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And inhale deeply. Hold the breath. Squeeze the lower body. Press the palms together. Tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Eyes up and in. Relax shoulders. And exhale. Beautiful. Okay, let's do some cat-cow. So you can come onto your hands and knees, or if you prefer to do spinal flex sitting, you can do that. For any of you who for some reason don't want to be on your hands and knees, you know, this is spinal flex. I'm just holding my shins, pulling the chest forward and curving it back like that. Okay, for the rest of us, we'll do cat-cow. So you can start now. You're on the clock for 3 minutes. Deeply inhaling, exhaling.
Anate pramate Ajoni amoni Narage narenge Narupe narike Akarma gabarma Jale, Abaya Bay, Abu Aju, Anasakas, a ganja bunch, a lakaba, a kaldea, a lake of bake, a namaka, a gaha, adaha, anate pramate, a Johnny Amoni, narage narenge, narupe narike, a karma gabarma.
Okay, take a deep inhale in, hold your breath, and exhale, navel to the spine. Now inhale, neutral spine, and come down into child's pose. Breathe deeply in this position. Notice every vertebrae and follow your out breath all the way to the pause, the natural pause. And if you'd like to, you can send an intention into Mother Earth for some added support today. Perhaps you'd like a little extra courage or a little bit more grace. Whatever you feel would be of use to help you elevate on your journey today. Now take a deep inhale and exhale, and take your time coming up. Come back up into easy pose. And we're going to do the addiction meditation, which is one of, well, I mean, all of this yoga is designed, as I said, to help us navigate this mind, in particular our subconscious mind patterns. But the addiction meditation is one of the best ones you can choose to use. And the more you do it, the more benefit you get, like anything. So even just 3 minutes a day, even if that's the only thing that you do, that would be an excellent choice to help begin to create more neural pathways to your neutral mind and being able to hold polarity in your life, right? The dark and the light, the this and the that. So we're gonna make this mudra where we mudra means shape, put our fingers into the pads of our palms here. Thumbs are pointing out. They're just gonna nestle into our temples, and you're gonna sit tall, chest up, chin slightly in, relaxing your gaze just to the center of your forehead with your eyes closed. Your jaw is closed, and you're gently going to pulse and chant sa ta na ma. Sa ta na ma. Okay. And so here we go. We can start. And I want you to know that because you're doing this funny shape, you're interrupting the day-to-day movement of your mind-body system. So if you could imagine that the shape that your body takes in your daily life has to do with your mental thought patterns, has to do with your projections, has to do with, just how you sort of show up. When we do these kind of odd things, there's many odd things in Kundalini Yoga, you're interrupting that pattern, that thought pattern, by using the physiology of your body in a different shape and a different sound. So it works on all of these levels. So you're chanting sa, ta, na, ma. Breathing deeply. More seconds. You're doing great. Go deeper into your breath if you need an anchor. Now take a deep inhale, stay in the position. Hold the breath. Focus at the center of the head. Now exhale the arms down and relax. Stay in the condition. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to do the main meditation now that we're doing today. And I chose this because It's a meditation that, again, specifically works on helping us to unlock those subconscious patterns and subconscious beliefs that we have that are rooted in trauma, even whether they be ours or from our lineage or just culturally. And it's called Ganputi Kriya, which basically means it eliminates the negativity, from the past, the present, and the future. It's also referred to sometimes as the Kriya to make the impossible possible. It's pretty powerful. The other thing I wanted to say about it, it's also really good for grief, because when we experience trauma, even if it's not ours and it's in our DNA, trauma and grief go hand in hand. Not necessarily, we can have just grief experiences, of course, but when there is trauma, there is grief. And our ability to actually process that grief is paramount to not falling into the madness of those subconscious patterns and beliefs that are just not true, those projections and those perceptions, right? And given that we live in a culture that it has been based on power and control for a long time, naturally, there has been an absence of flow, which is creativity, and community and ritual. It does exist, but it's not, highlighted or really truly supported in the collective. And therefore we have been robbed basically of our inner knowing around how to grieve. We've become fearful of grief. And then it gets stored, and it shows up in our subconscious patterns and how we see the world, and the way we relate to ourselves too, including lack of self-forgiveness, anger, and just a general avoidance of our own radiance. Okay, so all really good reasons to explore the power of a meditation like this one. We're going to sit in easy pose the way we are right now. So if you feel like shaking out right now while I'm talking to get some blood flow, feel free to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to do this mudra, or this hand gesture, where we are going to press the forefinger together, the middle finger with the thumb, the ring finger, and then the baby finger. And on each pulse, you're just going to do it lightly. Right? So this like gentle, graceful pressing. And it's going to be about 1 per second. So we're going to find this kind of heartbeat rhythmic motion. So your hands will be down on just relaxed on your legs, but I'm just showing you in the view here. And with every pulse, so similar to how we did with our addiction meditation, we're going to we're going to physically chant, or mentally, if you don't want to chant for some reason, you could do it mentally as well. But the indication, the direction here specifically is to chant sa ta na ma ra ma da sa se so hung. That'll get easier as you repeat it. So there's like 3 sections. You already know the first one because we do it all the time. Satanama, Ramadasa, Sa Se So Hung. You'll get the hang of it as I carry you through this meditation. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what these sounds mean, because it's really quite beautiful. Sa gives the mind the ability to expand to the infinite, to the God consciousness, to the higher realms. You could call it the wisdom of nature, if that suits you, to source, whatever you want to call it. Ta gives the mind the ability to experience the totality of life, that unity. Na gives the mind the ability to conquer death. I would say fear of death as well. Ma gives the mind the ability to resurrect. Ra gives the mind the ability to expand in radiance. This sound specifically purifies and energizes. Da gives the mind the ability to establish security on the earth plane, providing a ground for action. Se gives the totality of the whole experience. So is the personal sense of identity. Hung is the infinite as a vibrating real force. Together, so hung means I am thou. So beautiful. It's like a poem, you know? So let's see if we can experience new heights together. Just do your best, like with any of these experiences, just do your best, you know? I'm just gonna sit on my pillow here. Okay. So again, we're just doing this gentle pulsing. Your eyes are going to be closed. And as normal, as usual, you're just going to kind of focus on the center of your head, which is where your third eye is, your knowing self. Okay. All right. So here we go. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, say, so, hung, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Keep going. Listen to the sound of your own vibration and your breath. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Meditation is self-hypnosis. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. You got 1/4 time to go. You're doing great. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. This is a poem. Bring it into your heart. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hum, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hum, ra, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hum, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hum, sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hum. 1 minute left. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hum. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hum. Sa, ta, na, ma, ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hum. Now take a deep inhale. Now bring the arms up and shake the body. Shake, 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 shake. We're shaking out the energy, moving everything around. And exhale, deeply inhale again. Shake. We're moving around all that energy. Don't be afraid to look silly. Okay, and breathe out. And we're gonna do that one more time. Breathe in. Now shake. Shake the upper body, shake the head, shake the neck, shake the wrists, shake the torso. And exhale, relax the arms down. Now breathe and just notice anything that you're noticing. Sometimes when we create those new neural networks, we are shaking things up. So sometimes we can feel some sensations come up in our body. Sometimes we might have memories that show up. Our breath pattern might change, whatever the thing is. Just try to allow it to happen because it is part of the shift and part of the purification process. Now, if you feel a little lightheaded, which can happen after doing 11 minutes of meditation, then just breathe deeply into your belly. And you can even look around the room and just orient yourself again to the edges of the room. You can touch the floor beneath you, press against it. Okay, beautiful. So let's end with one long sat, one short nam. We'll bring the palms together and take an inhale. Sat nam. Sat nam. you for being here. Thank you to everyone who's watched the recording today. I appreciate you and your practice. I'm just going to sign off from the recording now.